So there's a sign that says DEI is racist, and I want you to elaborate on that because I'm a little confused.
Yeah. So essentially, DEI basically tells people that your skin color, your immutable characteristics about you, are more important than your character and your merit. Would you agree with that? What do you think is more important, you being your race or
I think me being a
what you've
black woman
done
is
with your
important
life?
to who I am.
Okay, but what's more important
Me being a black woman.
than your merit, the things you've done in your life?
I feel like they both correlate with
Or
each other, so there's not
which one
really
do you think is more important, your
Well,
race or the things you've done in your life, your
the
character?
things I've done in my life or my race. Both correlate to each other
No,
because
no,
the
but
things I have done in my life are because of my race, because I
No,
am a black woman.
that's not answering the question.
Is
Which
that
one?
not?
What's up, YouTube? It's your Huckleberry here, back with another video. We're going to be reacting to this TPUSA video that they put out on the campus again. You know, this time, of course, minus Charlie. We have another gentleman that they like putting out there now, Witt, I believe is his name. So, I haven't seen him before. I've just heard like about 30 seconds that you just heard and read a few of the comments. Apparently he's a really mild-mannered gentleman. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they're putting out there now, and you know how he handles the debate stage. So, and if you didn't notice from me flashing in front of you, I got my shop going. So check out the link down in the description. The idea behind the shop is kind of multifaceted. You know, No Kings is in the idea of No Kings with like they'll bow to, you know, like no royalty kind of thing. Like you could kind of get behind that, but it's like really radicalized and pointed directly at one individual. Whereas No Queens is supposed to like not only point out the hypocrisy, but kind of be a little bit there more in the middle. Where like if you're No Kings, then you should logically be No Queens, because there's a lot of people in the political field that have been dictating policy for a long time. Pelosi, Hillary. That have been in politics for a lot longer than even Trump. So it's kind of a satirical take on No Kings, but it's still founded in some basic fundamental humanity kind of logic there. So whereas it should be middle of the ground, I have a feeling that it'll be definitely more of a conservative push for people to want to wear. Go check it out. Lots of cool designs. Just go check it out, guys. You don't have to go all out with the banner. You could be a little bit more subtle with your support. But whatever the case is, let's get into this video from TPUSA and let's see what's going on here.
Well, it's not answering the question based on what you're saying DEI is.
You becoming...
Right? So DEI is basically saying that your race and your characteristics about you that are immutable, that you can't change, are more important than your merit and your character. So I'm asking you which one you think is more important. Your character and your accomplishments and your merit, or your race.
And I'm saying that because I am a black woman, what I have endured...
She doesn't comprehend the question. That's part of the problem with a lot of people that are so radicalized. They're being told subconsciously or directly through, you know, mainstream media or whatnot, what to say and how to think without trying to logically think about things. I don't think her intellect enables her to understand the question as he's presenting it.
Ties into my accomplishments in life. So, I'm confused on your question.
No, it's a very simple question. It's just one or the other. Because that's what the colleges or your jobs or these kind of things are looking at, right?
It's both.
Well, it can't be both,
well,
because that's not what DEI says. DEI basically says that regardless of your merit, affirmative action, you might have the same test scores. I mean, this is what happened in the Harvard case where Harvard got sued, because even though Asians were scoring 300 points better than black people on the SATs, they weren't getting in, the black people were getting in. Why does that make any sense if they have equal merit, or if they have higher merit, but because they're not black? Is that fair?
Yes, but that's why we have DEI.
That is fair.
Yeah, that's why we have
Why
DEI.
is that fair? Why is it fair that an Asian person who does better than a black person on a test doesn't get in just because...
See how he's kind of like talking around her because she doesn't really understand? She's like, that's why we have DEI. And he's suggesting like, I'm trying to explain to you. And she's just kind of like, well, that's what it's for. And without understanding like the repercussions of that.
They're Asian. How is that fair?
Doesn't get in because they're Asian.
Yes.
But Asian is included in DEI.
Oh, Asians are the most successful group. They're not included in DEI. That's why the whole thing happened with the lawsuit.
No, but they
The
are.
DEI happens with black, Hispanic, Indian,
And
basically.
Asian.
What I'm saying is the lawsuit happened where Asians were scoring higher.
The lawsuit happened. That's
yes,
not the
and they got
entirety of
sued.
DEI, though.
That is what DEI represents.
DEI
represents
the-
affirmative action, which says that we are giving people like you a leg up over other people despite their merit or character because of the color of their skin,
Because
their
they didn't
gender,
wanna
or their
take us before.
sexuality. What do you mean they don't want to take you
They
before?
didn't want to take us before because of our skin color, right?
Who didn't want to take you before?
They didn't want to give jobs to black people or
Who d-
Hispanic people.
Who didn't want to give jobs to black people?
The white people.
Since when?
Since when?
Since when?
Since slavery.
Since slavery.
Since slavery. This is the problem.
So you're
that has
saying
been
that
building
something
up
that
since
happened
slavery.
150 years ago has made it so that you need to have a leg up now.
Yes.
So the same for the Irish?
The Black
Asian...
Lives
Okay, so I think she's basing her response or her understanding off of the systematic racism thing, which we've talked about in some previous videos, where it's like she's being held back now because of, everything from 175 years ago started off on the wrong foot, and they've ever since then been held down. No, they got all the same rights and everything else, that they're still being held back because 200 years ago they were put behind the 8 ball and they can't seem to progress to a point that whites or Asian Americans or others that are affected by DEI have. And that's the fault. Sorry, my nose is itching. And that's the default kind of argument, especially when you don't comprehend the results of affirmative action in DEI.
Asians, Chinese people went through some of the worst.
6 years ago.
There was the Chinese Exclusion Act here in California that happened in this country. And now Chinese people are doing better than white people in this country. They had the exact same things that happened essentially with this discrimination and things going on as black people in this country. And yet they are surpassing black people, white people even, in so many different areas.
And that's
And why
great
are they
for
doing
them. But what about the people who are still being oppressed?
that? Who are those people?
The black people.
So what can you do that I can't do?
What
Here
can
it is.
you're saying? What can I do
Yes,
that you can't?
you're
do?
black, I'm white. What can you do that I can't do?
You
Or
have
what
a
can
be-
I do that you can't do?
Well, as a white man, you have a better chance of getting a job than I do.
That is not true. That is literally the
Why is
entire
that not
point of
true?
DEI. DEI, I just proved it to you with the whole thing with Harvard. This happens all across the country with
You
affirmative
proved it to
action.
me at Harvard with Asian
Yes, but
people.
this happened. That's why they have a DEI department to make this happen.
Yes.
Because it's not based
So
on
how is
merit.
it
It is
racist?
based.
Y'all see how she doesn't understand? She can't, he gives her an example of Harvard and how Asians are being held back because of DEI and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, she's basically saying, well, that has nothing to do with me because I'm black. But he's giving the example of the results of DEI, and she's not comprehending that. She's just like, well, I'm black, that has nothing to do with me. What about systematic racism?
on your race. Because it's based on race and not on merit.
It's
That
racist
is
because
racist.
it's giving people a chance to get a job.
Lower performing people.
Lower performing
if I-
people. So
if-
you think that
so if you
people
owned
of
a
color are
business-
lower performing people?
Well, if they are lower performing, yes, they are. If you owned a business.
So lower performing people are
Let me
people
ask you,
of color. Let me
if
just
you
get
had
that
a
straight.
business, if you had a business, would you want someone there whose skin color is like yours, or someone who's going to do a good job?
Someone who's going to do a job that I want them to do, regardless
Right.
of the race or skin.
There you go, exactly. That's the whole point of DEI. DEI tells them it doesn't matter about what you do if you're going to be good at your job. It tells you, because you're black, you come and get the job over someone else just because you're black,
Right. But
which is racist.
okay. Hold on. Let me backtrack.
Okay, backtrack.
Okay.
Let her backtrack now, because you just got her, and now she's got to go back and think about how she just got. Yeah, I mean, kudos for this girl to get up on the mic because she obviously wants to understand what he's saying, but she lacks the capacity and the intellect to comprehend what is actually happening with DEI. And she's stuck in this realm of black people, minorities, colored people. She even just then when he was like, she misunderstood what he was saying, and she was like, okay, let me get this straight. You know, like, no, you're not getting it straight though. Um, yeah.
So we're saying DEI is racist. Can you go back to the Harvard point?
Sure, whatever, sure. We kind of already covered it.
Yeah.
I
I just
mean,
want to
this is just me explaining it to
yeah.
you. Right.
Can you explain what happened at the Harvard situation?
Right. So
Yeah.
Harvard got sued for the DI and all this stuff, right? Asians were scoring up to 300 points higher on their SATs than people of other races, and yet the Asians were rejected while the people of other races were put forward.
And so
You see that?
with DEI. this
Right. That
helps-
is DEI in action.
Okay. And so with DEI, right? Let's say I'm put up against like someone who, let's say I'm put up against like a normal, like white person, like, right? Like I'm put up
Okay.
against you, like for a job.
Okay.
Okay. And do you have a degree like in anything? Like is your
I
do you
do.
have a specific
Yeah.
what's your degree in?
Clinical psychology.
Clinical psychology?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
All right.
So let's say we're applying for the same job. Okay? Who do you think they're more likely to choose
The person
Based
who's a
off
better candidate.
based on who's a better candidate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what they need for the job.
All right. And then are they going to choose? Okay. Well, cuz this can kind of interchange.
That's
based
how it
off of
should
the
be.
job.
I mean,
Well, I mean, they're going to choose him because she's not a clinical psychologist and he's got the degree for the job. Her question needs to be rebased to like if she had the same degree as him, who are they going to pick? And then of course his answer would be they're going to pick you.
it's very simple. If you own a business or you have a school or whatever it is, you should want the best person for the job.
Right.
Not because they're black, not because they're a woman, not because they're gay or trans. A real American doesn't care about
But
any of
then
that.
they
They
wanna
care
give
about the
people the
fact that they'll do a
chance.
good job.
They want to give people the chance who wouldn't typically get a chance to have to have a job opportunity.
Okay, they want to
Because-
give people the chance.
Right.
But
And
by
that
doing
includes, like,
so,
people with
you are taking
disabilities.
away someone else's chance. So you're saying you want to give someone else a chance, but by doing that, you are taking away someone's chance who actually worked harder than that person or is better than that person at these certain things that they're looking for. So you're two
But wouldn't
wrongs
that
don't
also
make
be
a
a
right.
problem of the job market?
What do you mean?
The declining rate in jobs.
Well, that goes back to illegal immigration and all the
That's a good answer. So yeah, she's suggesting like, well, shouldn't everybody have that job opportunity? Well, there's only a certain number of jobs. You got 10 jobs for a specific, whatever, and you got 50 people applying. They should take the 10 best applicants. And she that's as simply, she just doesn't understand that. She's saying, well, the black people, they're not going to hire the black people because they're black. No, they're not going to hire the black people or the minority or anybody that doesn't score in the top 10% or the top, whatever percent of that. Well, that would have been 20%. But so, yeah,
these different kind of things.
It's a real
But there are jobs
struggle.
available in this country to be done.
she's just not going to get it, guys. I'm telling you, her intellect's just not there.
Well, that goes back to illegal immigration and all these different kind of things. But there are jobs available in this country to be done. I would say that's somewhat irrelevant for the point that we're trying to make here. Back on track.
Well, no, it kind of
But-
does because if there's enough jobs to go around, we wouldn't need DEI in the first place. But because there isn't enough jobs to go around, people,
Yeah, DEI has nothing to do with the amount of jobs that are available.
well, no, but it does have something to do with the amount of people who are getting jobs.
It has to do with essentially racist practices like affirmative action, the DEI, not basing things on merit and basing them on immutable characteristics so they can make people feel better about themselves.
Okay. And so, I'm trying to think of how to say this. Okay. Because of the way that we've built the job systems and things like that.
Let's go to this. You're talking about black people and they're going to get this chance that they haven't got before, and they need that chance, right? Well, why are black people right now struggling in this country? What would you say is the number one thing that's making them struggle in this country?
Well, because of the red line districts, they've separated black people into lower
Okay.
quality neighborhoods.
So
And
you think
so-
redlining is stopping
I do.
black people from getting a job?
I do, because you're putting them into these poverty neighborhoods, and then you're not giving them much to go and grow off of.
Okay.
And so they're not able to get a better education.
So then how do Asian people get out of poverty neighborhoods?
well,
How do
you're
white
not-
people get out of poverty neighborhoods?
Well, Asian people
They
aren't
do
put
it.
in the same group as the red line district.
Right, but they're
There are
still in
different
all sorts of
communities.
poverty and they get out of these places of poverty. How do they do it?
But you're saying statistically, right? Black people have a harder time getting out of these poverty neighborhoods because the system is
Yeah,
built
because
to put
there's a
them down.
black culture problem. There's
Yeah.
a problem in the black
In the
culture.
black culture.
Yes.
What's the problem with the black culture?
Black fatherlessness.
Black fathers?
And crime.
And crime.
And
gang
these
banging?
kind of things. Back in the 1960s, blacks were on track to surpass white people in economic growth. They were literally about to surpass
You know why
us.
people tore down black towns?
Why white? Say that again?
White people tore down black towns that were prospering so that we wouldn't prosper.
Oh, the affirmative action and all the civil rights and all those kind of things is what changed, and the black culture changed.
They wouldn't give these people those jobs. They wouldn't give them the opportunities, and so they were forced to go out and do drugs or sell drugs to make a living for
You're
their
forced
families.
to go out and sell drugs? Who's
What
forcing
other
you to go and
choice
sell
did they
drugs? Did you
have?
sell drugs? You're black. Do you sell drugs?
Are you assuming that I sell drugs because I'm black?
No, I'm asking you. You're saying this. You're saying that black people are forced to sell
I'm
drugs.
saying that some black people were forced to sell drugs back in the day because they were forced in the borderline, in the red line
Okay,
districts.
but not now. Are black people, are you forced to sell drugs?
Am I forced to sell drugs? No,
one is
but
forced to sell drugs. They can
Forced
go
to
and
sell-
change their lives. And if they want to make something of their life, they needs to change in the black culture. That is where it comes from. I will give you that there are things that the government has done to African Americans in this country that haven't been the best. I'm with you on that, okay? It's not the greatest. But people can pull themselves out of despondency. And there's a black culture problem that our media proliferates and puts out there about baby mamas, all this kind of stuff that makes the culture worse. And if
And
they
I
were to
agree.
change that,
I agree
it
with
would be
that.
better off. The black community would be better off.
But it's hard to change something when people have an opinion on you that is enforced by the government.
What
because
opinion
they're
is
not
that?
really doing anything to help out these communities
Wait,
by taking away
what opinion is that? What are you talking about?
that black because hold on. So
She's struggling.
let me find a way to word this.
Because you're black what?
Because I'm black, or because okay, sorry. Can you ask the question again? Sorry.
Well, you made the claim. You said that people think something about you because it's demanded by the government. What do we think about you?
Well, people think lower of black people just because of the
You guys think lower of black people? Oh, all the white people here?
well.
No, of course not. Listen. You having that mindset of thinking that white people are out to get you and we think lower
Well, I don't
of
think
you?
that you're all out to get me.
Well, of course not all of them, but you have this mindset that there's a systemic problem of racism that's mandated by the government and we're all out to get you and
There
there's this
it is.
racist boogeyman out there. You think that there's a systemic problem of
That's what I was
racism
I do.
saying.
that keeps you down and stops you. When in
I do.
reality, look at you, you're at this college, able to come to me and have this conversation with me right now.
Nobody
You know how
holds
much
her
I'm paying
down.
to be here?
Of course, you can't, well, you're supposed to get it for free?
No, but do you think education should be lowered
Well, of course. But that has nothing
so
to do
that
with
way
racism.
everyone can get an education?
Wait, what does this have to do with racism?
Well,
There are white
think-
people who go to school here too, and Asian people.
oh, everyone.
And there's
goes-
way more scholarships and things for people who are black than there is for a straight white male.
Yeah, but straight white males are more likely to be able to afford college,
Okay? So
which is why there are more
their
scholarships.
family
for
made
black
better choices. That's
people. So
why they're
you're
more likely
saying
to
that
be
black
able
people
to.
didn't make better choices?
Yes, that's exactly what I just said. The black community has a cultural problem that is
Yes.
making them make worse choices. And that we need to fix the black culture around these things and the world would be better off. Black people would be better off.
Well, there you have it, guys. So, yeah, Will is very composed and mild-tempered. He seems like a pretty educated, smart guy. What was this degree in clinical psychology? On first get, I kind of like this guy. And he was very good at trying to get her to understand. But like I was saying, guys, she just lacks the capacity to understand what he's trying to say. She's stuck in this realm of like systemic racism, and there's no getting around like the logicalness or the actual results of what DEI and affirmative action do. And you kind of get it because like that kind of defeats her whole narrative and her whole belief system. But that's the problem, is like a lot of people aren't willing to try to learn like what exactly works, what's right, what's wrong, what's good. And it's all, it goes back to Orange Man bad, kind of, like not necessarily putting like that directly on that, but like no matter what Trump does, orange man bad. So you take that like logic and you apply it. So like no matter what DEI does or no matter what affirmative action does, systematic racism bad. Like and she just couldn't quite grasp what he was saying when everybody else in attendance I think was clearly getting it. Now she was I like the girl, and I hate to sit here and say that she's kind of a dumbass, but like I mean she's in college, so she knows a little bit about something, although you know she might have got in there through DEI, but you know she was composed and she was trying to understand, but she can't because it was learnt to her like that's like you like there's no comprehension process there that will grasp anything against your already dedicated belief system. Anyway, that was a good video. I enjoyed watching it. I hope to watch more videos from who USA is putting out there. Maybe more videos from Will specifically. And again, guys, check out the store, the merch store. I got more things than just like the No Queens banner. I got crown with lines through it. You know, to try to like mirror the No Kings. But like I said, this isn't a radicalized apparel line or anything. It's more satirical. There are some caricatures in there of like Hillary and Kamala and things like that to make you laugh, to try to, you know, point out hypocrisy a little bit. But there are some really clean logos and really subtle things like fallen chess pieces, you know, pocket queens design, which is pretty neat from poker. So go and check out the shop. I like it a lot. I'm still working on it some, trying to come up with some new designs and whatnot. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Hope you liked the video. Hope you liked the shop. We'll see you in the next video. You're Daisy if you do. Peace!